Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening. My name is Paul Fricke. I'm with Gerard and Davis. We're the city attorney for the city of Milton. And I am opening this meeting as a result of the fact that the chairman and the vice chairman are unavailable in person tonight. I understand the vice chair is present virtually, and looking at the screen, I see the picture. It's a small picture, but I understand that he is online. As a result of that current situation, the first order of business is going to be to appoint a chairman pro tem for the purposes of this meeting in order to run the meeting. As the representative of the Director of Community Development, I am going to ask the members for a motion to appoint a chairman pro tem for the purposes of this meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint.
And who would you like to appoint?
I'd like to appoint Charlie Roberts.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Is there any discussion?
No.
Okay, call for the vote. If you'll raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
4 in favor. Do we have a vote from? Trying to figure out. We're going to figure out how to do this.
Jeff, do you vote in opposition or for? Can you hear me? Can't hear me. Okay. Jeff. I'll do that. I don't know how we're going to do this.
Well, how much time do you need?
2 minutes. I got to go.
We're going to see if we can get this to work. Okay. Tell you what, while we're awaiting the results of that vote, Mr. Roberts, I believe you have a script for how the rest of the meeting is going to run as the result of the combination of in-person and virtual conduct of the meeting. If you'll go ahead and read that, that'll get and take care of.
Welcome, everyone, to tonight's DRB meeting. If you are attending virtually via Zoom, there are a few guidelines we would like to have you follow, and I would like to mention those now. Everyone is muted, and your videos are turned off by default to minimize any disruptions. If you would like to make a comment during the public hearing portions of this meeting, please raise your hand by clicking on the icon labeled Participants at the bottom of your screen, and then click the button labeled Raise Hand. If you are calling into the meeting on a phone, you can raise your hand by pressing star 9 on your keypad. Once the moderator calls your name, please unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone button on the bottom of your screen or by pressing star 6 on your phone.
Okay, let's see if we get Cody back and then see where we stand.
Would it be okay if we went ahead and called the meeting to order and did the Pledge of Allegiance?
Tell you what, we have a motion outstanding, and I have called the meeting to order. As soon as that is done, I think you can. Okay. As soon as we confirm the vice chair's or the ability to participate, we'll actively call that vote and then proceed. Tell you what, Mr. Roberts, I've come to the opinion that the first 2 items we can go ahead and take care of.
On the agenda?
Since we do know the vote was at least 4-1, we'll declare that it was approved. We'll get, for the purposes of the minutes, the final tally on that vote. But you can proceed, having been appointed as the chairman pro tem for this meeting, and proceed with item 1 and 2.
All right, I'd like to call to order the Design Review Board meeting of August 4th, 2020. and welcome the public to our meeting. With that, I'd like for everyone to stand and let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we go ahead and do the introduction of our board members?
Yes, sir.
Reed,
Reed Casey, Bethany Road.
Charlie Roberts, Freemanville Road.
Brian, I have a business here in Crabapple.
Beniquas Palmer, Canterbury on the Lake.
There we go. Very good.
Yeah, he's in now. I'm Bob Buscemi,
Can we-
city architect.
Can we confirm your vote on the motion to appoint Mr. Roberts, the chairman pro tem, for this meeting?
Jeff, he's talking to you.
Could we confirm your vote either for or against on the motion to appoint Mr. Roberts as the chairman pro tem for this meeting? Thank you. Thank you. We'll put that in the minutes, and you may proceed, Mr. Roberts, with item 3.
Could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, and this is, I'm sorry, could you add, or I'd ask if the board would be interested in adding a new business item regarding officers for the remainder of the year?
Yes, under new business, we would like to have a discussion of officers and a discussion on what we might do next month in that regard. So that would be a new item. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to add some discussion around what we do with officers for next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
As a matter of practice, if we could get, are you able to follow reasonably well to verbally announce your vote online?
Jeff, can you hear us at all?
Certainly. There was a motion made to add a new. Okay, great. And when the vote is called, we will look to either hear, or if you raise your hand on the call, we do have video of you, and we'll try to confirm that either way. All right, thank you. So that was added.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the July meeting minutes?
I move to approve the July meeting minutes.
I'll, sorry, I'm going to be a little bit tight on this. Officially, that was a motion just to add an agenda item. If you would now make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
We've added the discussion, and if we could get a motion.
I move to approve the added item of officers in next month's meeting agenda to new business.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Now, could I get a motion to approve the July meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the July meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Now we're hearing you, Jeff. Now you're coming in. Our first order of business is the demos, and we'll start with Green Road.
I want to bring this demolition up. The applicant reached out to staff that they wish to withdraw because at the time they don't want to pursue the project currently, but he could not be able to attend, but he just wants to withdraw this demolition at this time and bring it back at a later time.
Okay, do we need a vote on that? or just accept that?
Do you have anything in writing on that?
I asked for him for an email, and he'd never sent one.
Without something in writing, I would ask that the board go ahead and vote to postpone that. I would expect it would not appear on next one, or else if we need to get a formal approval, it'll be identified as a motion to withdraw. But for the moment, since we don't have anything in writing and no applicant present, I would suggest a motion to defer to the next meeting.
All right, given those facts, can we get a motion to defer Green Road demo to next month?
I'll make a motion to defer Green Road demo to next month.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item of business is 3300 Highway 9 demo. Do we have an applicant here? Would you like to come up and tell us about what you want to do?
Yes, sir. My name is Shahab Khatami, the owner of that property on Highway 9, and asking for demolition. Actually, I applied about a month ago, but since then, the property unfortunately was set on fire by trespassers. So already I've had the asbestos fellows taking a look at it, and the rodent letter is ready. So we're ready to do the demo if it's being approved.
Cody, anything from staff on this since it was a fire and a little unusual?
Staff did have communication with the fire marshal, and the fire marshal reached out to the applicant's insurance and him as well, and we got the proper documentation that we needed to go forward with the demolition permit.
And so there's no issues with staff with the city?
Correct. There's
Okay.
no issues.
All right, do we have any discussion from the audience? Anybody here in opposition? Anybody here in favor? Hearing no public input, we'll close the public hearing, and I would ask for discussion.
Got no issue with it.
Looks pretty straightforward to me.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the Green Road demo?
I'll make a motion to approve the,
This
it's
was-
actually 3300 Highway 9
Whoops.
demo.
And I second.
It was just the 3300 demo, not the Green Road.
Yeah, I'm sorry, thank you. It's the 3300 Highway 9 demo.
Correct.
I don't want you tearing down the wrong building. So where was our motion? Who made
I
the
made a
motion?
motion to approve the demolition for 3300 Highway 9.
Second? Thank you, Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Don't make a mess. Clean it up and make it pretty over there. All right, the next items are courtesy reviews. We don't vote on courtesy reviews. We just ring in with our opinion that is then conveyed to the other boards. And so the first one tonight is V20-14 705 Nettlebrook Lane. The applicant come forward.
Hey, Austin.
How y'all doing this evening? Hey, I'm Austin Lineberry with New River Building Company. I'm a general contractor in town. I'm here to represent Marty and Jessica Hamby. They're the owners that reside at 705 Nettlebrook Lane, Nettlebrook subdivision. I provided in my letter of appeal a lot more detail, but let me just summarize that briefly for you. Basically, they live on a lot that faces three streets, Red Road, the subdivision, and then Thompson Road. So their setbacks are 60 feet on Red Road, 60 feet in the front, 25 on the side, and then 50 in the rear. So their building setbacks are restricting their real estate where they can build, right? The request has been, they came to us because they want us to build a carriage house for them. It's basically a home office above a two-car garage with a half bay for like a golf cart or something of that nature. In the design strategy, we looked at shaping the building to where we could nestle it into an offset keeping room to try to keep it as close to the other structure as possible. But in doing so, even with those guidelines, we are over the building setback. on the south side that faces Red Road. The building is not sitting perfectly parallel with the setback. It's at an angle. So the furthest point would be about 27.3 feet. So
Can I
basically
ask
what
a
that
question?
means. Yeah.
Cody, can we put that up on the screen for any of the viewers to see? In the package, there was a survey that showed where it's set.
You got that?
Let me see. Do you have it on a thumb drive or only on that?
I've got it on Google Drive and I have it. Oh, do you have printed copies?
Yeah. I don't think the document thing works.
Is there an Apple TV in here?
If you just, I'll be right back.
Because I can.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. I've got it electronically as well. Do you have a copy, Tim?
Let me see it. Yeah, I've got a copy.
Okay.
I'd see
It was
I just
more for
wanted
the public.
the audience to see it, or any viewers to
Yeah,
see
so on the Red Road side, we have 40 feet, a 40-foot building line. If you can see on the property there, 60 in the front, 25 on the opposite side. So basically what we're asking to do is encroach on that 40-foot setback. And the maximum is going to be 27.3 feet from the property line at the back corner of the building and 30.3 feet at the front. Do you see that there, sir?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically.
On the Red Road.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So there are mature Leland cypress trees growing along Red Road. There's a 4-board fence with wire on it as well. And so those Lelands are just inside the property line. They are planning on staying there, not only for a visual barrier, but also auditory to try to knock down some of the noise off Red Road. So I think the hardship here is a couple things. One is, they're encroaching over the building setback, which is not in our current ordinance for them, right? They have a practical reason where they are up against Red Road, so they want more security for their vehicles and storage. They're not able to utilize their current garage for all of their vehicles. And then there's no other place on the property to put it. So even though the property's deep and it's on Thompson Road, that's really the only place that makes sense, considering the 25-foot setback on the opposite side.
Okay.
Yes, Cody's still working back there.
Do you have a picture of the architecture?
So in concept, we sent over a couple ideas. We did not engage the architect yet to make sure that we haven't designed out the building fully to make sure we could move forward before the client wanted to invest in
Tim,
architectural
can I
fees.
borrow that? This was in our package, and this is what Jeff, have you seen the architecture? Was that in your package?
Yeah, that home. Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. Yeah, the home in particular is more of a Southern classical style. It does have the farmhouse look, but it has a little bit more traditional look to it. So the idea would be, it is the clapboard siding, but it's in keeping with the style of that home. So the example that we sent over is very similar to what they want to do with the gable roof, but we'll make sure it's appropriate back to the front facade of the home.
Here's what I think Jeff asked. Jeff, what was your question again? So, Jeff, I agree with you, and this is one of my points. And based on what Jeff's input is, should we get to a positive vote, don't know where we're going to be, those trees staying need to be in our approval.
Okay.
Or our review here. And then for me, assuming they die or they're not there, and I'm not big on variances and getting over the building lines because we set a precedent. And when you do it for one, you got to do it for everyone. And the city has its setbacks and codes for a reason. and the taxpayers have approved that, the council's enacted it, and the staff and us are supposed to carry that out. But I really happen to like this architecture, and I was real enthused with what you were going to do. If the cypress did die or there was a hole in them, this is very Milton, probably cuter and nicer than the house, actually. And so I would want to pass on to the other board that this would have to be the design. We're the design review board, and I wouldn't want to see you change it and make it less than very Milton. I mean, I'm a developer builder. This is a very leading edge design. Mm-hmm. It's a nice profile. The end of that would be seen from Red Road, mm-hmm. and this is a really nice piece of work. The architect here should take this over and see what he thinks. So,
I agree. It's a nice shaped structure, that garage, the gable roofs and everything. Mm-hmm. I think that would look like a good addition if it was built that way.
I just had 3 questions, and you can answer them once I'm all done. Number 1, is there HOA in this area for this subdivision?
There is, yes, ma'am.
And have they reviewed it?
Yes.
The second one is, will you, if you do get the variance, is there any way that we can guarantee that we will see what the final of this looks like?
So I guess that's a great point. Like, what would the city like to see as a part of the approval process from us? Because I know there's another meeting with the zoning board. So do we need to go into elevation sketches? Because I mean, it's a big investment for the people, right? Mm-hmm. And one, in the community is going to have a standards. You guys are going to have standards, mm-hmm. and obviously they personally do. But I know that you guys want to guarantee that they'll follow that, right? Mm-hmm. In my mind, there's no question that the architecture won't be on par or better than that, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not the final architecture. And to your point, Mr. Roberts, the side of the house is pretty plain. So if the trees were to die on Red Road, you see a big plain facade. So this would actually add a lot of dimension and depth to the home. But to answer your question, ma'am, there is an HOA. Mm-hmm. That's the first step that I had Mr. Hamby do. I said, you got to make sure that they'll allow you to build the garage. It doesn't make sense to even for me to come here tonight. Mm-hmm. And he got an email written approval from them. Okay.
Were they aware of the setback issues as well when he presented to them?
I wasn't involved with the conversation. Mm-hmm. He did that directly. Okay. But my understanding is I asked him to fill them in on the whole situation. Okay. He knew that we would be coming for approval for the zoning change. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Also, what is the main reason why you said it about? It looks like it's about the building. The new building is about 4.8 feet off of the main house. Is that just because there's 4 steps leading into the house, and trying to avoid that or create a gap in between the house for whatever reason?
Right, that's correct. Yeah. So when the structure goes in, they have a pool and a nice backyard. Mm-hmm. So instead of having to go all the way around the garage, there's a breezeway off the side of the home. So the idea was to kind of nestle it in there, but leave it wide enough we could put a staircase in between the main dwelling and the carriage house to get down to the pool.
Gotcha.
Let me at this point ask if there's anybody here for or against this from the public, and let's hear from opposition if there is any. Okay, hearing none. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if this is approved, it would be nice to see the final architecture, and then I don't know if you need necessarily a landscape plan, but just maybe something that just shows the distance between the structure and maybe those mature trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can update that as well.
And then maybe letters from the 2 people that live on the other side that they're fine with the new layout. But yeah, I agree with Reed that photos or at least an architectural rendering showing what it looks like would be good. And just make sure with the HOA that he told them that it was going to be a variance kind of request and not just we're going to build this kind of thing.
Get a copy of that,
for yourself.
Sure.
For the zoning board to see.
Mm-hmm.
So if we move forward with some architectural concepts, do we need to bring those back to this board, or can we take those and include them with the package to the zoning?
Cody, we're going to make our recommendation and forward it. what's your say in this? Do they need to come back to us on the architecture?
What about
This would be subject to architecture review if it were approved during the permitting stage. It would be subject to the city architect. It's really up to Mr. Buscemi if he would like to bring it back for the board to look at, or if the board would like to give Bob permission to kind of get the style that the board's wanting, and he can incorporate that when they submit for their permit.
What's the board's pleasure?
Yeah,
on-
I'd say give Bob the
I think I'm
authority
okay with
to
Bob just
take
reviewing
care of
that.
that.
Okay, so we're concerned about the landscape plan and the trees that Jeff brought up, and here on a very important road with a lot of other people driving by. We're doing something we don't like to do, and that's variances. So we want to really understand that landscaping. If landscaping dies, is my point, and I want to see architecture. I really value great architecture. I'm disappointed that this is in my packet, but I think I'm hearing you say this isn't it.
That's the concept. So it's going to be a gabled roof design like that, but it's actually going to be a little bit more southern traditional. That leans a little modern farmhouse, so it's going to have a classical look that's in line with the Milton.
All right, so that's developer talk. And I can say this to you because I'm one of, I don't know what it is, and we're going to hocus pocus. So now more than ever, we want the architect, the city's architect, to review this with you before it's permitted.
Sure.
And we really like this farmhouse look. And honestly, this is, in my opinion, I'm only one vote, more attractive than the house itself, which clearly was built at least 10, 15 years ago. And if Red Road's going to see it, I really like the box bay sitting here. The roof lines are great. The windows up here are great. The doors are great. It's just Milton. And so I'd like, Bob, that you take that responsibility. I'll ask you to do that. And so that would be any other discussion that we want to forward?
Mr. Chair, can I just ask the board's feeling about it being a detached structure versus it being an attached structure? Just to get a feeling
I'm
from
okay
the
with
board.
detached. I'm okay with
Tim's okay. Reed?
I mean, I think if all efforts were made maybe by you and him I don't want him to not have a pathway down to the pole. I understand they want to use the backyard, but adhering it to the house would eliminate about 5 feet within that build line, which is a nice thing too. If we're not here to approve the variance, obviously, but I would say that would go a long way.
Right.
But I would ring in that having the walkway, like Reed said, is a nice thing for them. But also in historic renovation or additions, having the addition different from the house so it's clearly different, not this odd thing tacked on to a 15-year-old house. I kind of like the separation, allowing you to do more architecture. So I'm going to defer to Tim on attached or detached.
I know the house is all siding, it looks like.
Yeah,
And I'm okay with the garage to be board and batten and the house be siding. I draw new homes like that, so I'm okay with the board and batten look that's on that.
And what about separation?
Separation I like.
we would like
the
to
separation.
attach it by breezeway. I don't know if you define
Well,
attachment.
yes, definitely our breezeway roof.
Yeah.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. But having the space between the wall of the house and the garage is okay.
Yeah, and just practically speaking, the way that the keeping room bumps out and the kitchen windows there, the keeping room windows, so the separation not only allows the stairs to go to the pool and a pool gate to be there, it also
Right.
still lets light in that side of the house.
Right, that's
So
true.
if we push the garage up against it, it would clip into the back of it just for the vehicles pulling in, but then it would emit the light coming into the kitchen.
Right.
I think as
So
far as,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think as far as asking for a variance, and maybe this is just my opinion, anytime you ask for a variance, sometimes you got to give up a little. And so, granted, they want to have it separated and the breezeway and stuff like that, but what are they willing to give up to make the deal work? And so, giving up those 4 or 5 feet might help them to see that, okay, well, they gave this up or they got it up to the building, this is as far as it can go, so, maybe we will approve it kind of thing.
Yeah, I understand that. I think part of it too was chopping into the space. Like that was the idea that I came up with of the third bay where the golf cart is to try to slide it over as much as we could. But I understand your point.
because I'm a little confused now. So when we go forward to the BZA, we want to be clear what we recommended. Bob, what's your thought on attaching it or detached?
Well, I wanted to hear what the board had to say, but like what Benny was saying is if we could show that we're asking for the least amount of encroachment, that usually helps when we're in front of the variance board, that we're demonstrating that we are not asking for more, just to ask for more. We really tried hard to reduce the amount. Because like the chair said, that generally the city really wants to comply with their rules, and they don't, there's no guarantee. I mean, the board really is not, it's not a given that you get the variance. So if we can try to work together and say, look, we really tried to put this thing together and reduce the amount of encroachment, it would probably help you.
Yeah.
What are the windows in the end of the house that the garage would block if you push them together? What rooms are?
Is there a picture of that side of elevation, Tim? Yeah, it's the keeping room and the kitchen sink, the kitchen window.
Second floor too, but not get in the way.
Yeah, I mean, and just being perfectly direct, if we were standing out there having a tea, I mean, we standing there looking at it, and it was your home, like we tried to go beyond and be prudent before this, like any kind of negotiation, like, all right, how can we reduce it down the most we can on the first go around? And still make it make sense for the client. Okay, I 100% appreciate and respect where you're coming from attaching it, but just practically speaking, if we were all standing there looking at it, and if, Tim and I have worked together, if he came out there and looked at it, it's like, oh, okay, maybe it doesn't make sense to push it all the way. So I feel like we've squeezed it down without it going all the way against the house. I just don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me practically of attaching it over to the home, just honestly.
I think the roof line's going to interfere with the second floor bedrooms. I think there's bedrooms up there, it looks like. And
In looking at it, so
Yes, sir.
I'm going to agree with Tim, and as we send it forward, can we all come together that we support? And again, it's 7 feet and 10 feet. I think you're doing a good job if you get the architecture as we've talked about. But can we say that we're okay with it separated those 4 or 5 feet? That's what they want. As Tim points out, it interferes with the roof and the windows. So can we get consensus on that?
I mean, architecturally, I agree with you, and by the look, I agree with you. I'm just trying to, like I said, provide, I guess, some type of suggestion on just getting it through, getting it approved. And that's one of the things that I just know that they would want to look at. But yeah, I totally agree. If I were looking at this in personal view, I would want it separated. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, Cody, if
Just ask another question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
So without the dimensions on this, is this a 2-car garage or two and a half?
It's 2.5 basically. It's like 2-car garage with a bay for a golf cart or storage or whatever. But he wants to be able to pull his truck in one side and then have an open bay for another car for his kids.
Okay, so they're really adding like a 2.5 car
2.5.
garage into the side yard. I just want to make sure the board's aware of it.
Correct.
Because there's
Yeah.
no dimensions.
All right, let's come together and get Cody clear on what we're going to pass forward, and then it's BZA's decision. So we're
Well, I'm not sure. So I didn't know that was a golf cart garage. I just thought it was a bump out. But that's probably what, 4 feet?
It's not going to have,
7
we talked
feet?
about it not having a door, like a golf cart door. He'd be able to pull it over in there if he had one, or storage. So it's not going to have 3 doors facing the front, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like some of those have the smaller, like the shorter door, but that's not the intent.
Well, have you thought about putting that on the other side and making, or I don't know, I'm just trying to not infringe on that setback as much as possible, right? I mean, that would be the goal. So it just looks like another 7 feet almost gets you out of the setback line, right?
So if we could take what Reed's saying and what you said and try to make it, you could almost have no variance issue. I think it's going to come down to your client deciding, do they want the breezeway walkway 5 feet, or do they want the golf cart 5 feet? And
But sir, if I may, that actually, if you look at the back corner of the garage, even if you were to omit the whole bump out, it's only 3.9 feet. So if you just take the basic square of the 2-car garage omitting the bump out, you can't slide it over anymore if you want to have the stairway coming down through there. I mean, you could pinch it down more, but you really don't want to have a ingress egress under 3
So
feet.
on your survey, the bump out is really the house, the 2-car garage has to be where it is anyway because of the wing of the house. And
Yes, sir.
And the golf cart thing is the bump out that's in an area that really wouldn't change.
But you couldn't help it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, if you see the 3.9 at the back, that's right. I mean, it's. I understand your point, trying to squeeze it back over, but it's
All right,
not-
if we could,
no man's land.
let's
Yeah.
get our thoughts together and move on here. And I think we've covered it really well. So, Cody, what are we passing on? The landscaping issues.
I said, before you, as a technical issue, you did ask for those opposed. I don't think you ever actually formally asked for anyone that wanted to speak in favor. I didn't see any indication, but if you'd formally ask if there was anyone that wanted to speak in favor.
All right, is there any opposition or for or against that want to speak?
Thank you.
When I saw no one stand up, I didn't think I should say they want to speak. All right, so let's pull this together. The landscaping is a big concern. We want to have safeguards on that, and we want to have a landscape plan. The architecture is really critical to us, and we pass that on. And we want Bob to approve that. If BZA approves this variance, then we want the city architect to approve the architecture since it's not coming back to us. And we do want to be on record. We like the rendering that's in the package. Don't wave pretty things at us and then take them away. And we like the Milton farmhouse, the extra money in those gables and roofs and box bays instead of a blank wall. So that's very important to Design Review Board that BZA hear that. And is there anything else?
Covered it.
See letters from HOA and neighbors.
I have that written down.
Document the letters from the neighbors and that the homeowners association in writing has approved it. And that's all in the file and part of what we're doing. All right, thank you for coming. Good
Thank you for
luck.
your comments.
Good
Appreciate
luck.
it.
All right, the next item of business is 6B, V20-15, 810 Guardian Court. Do we have an applicant tonight?
Hello. Hello. My name is Wayne Massey. I reside at 810 Guardian Court. Here to look over the package you have in front of you and discuss an open-air cabana out by the pool.
Anything else?
All the information's there. So
That's good. That makes it good.
one thing I did drop off to Cody was we did contact all of our neighbors, anyone who joins our property, and got letters from each one.
Okay. And Cody, you have that.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion?
Yeah, I think that was one of my biggest concerns, just the location of this cabana. The neighbor to the right seems like he's going to be looking at the roof every time he pulls in the driveway. So that would be my major comment, is to get their approval or their thumbs up on it.
Yeah, it's
You probably can't see it as much but just from the aerials, that's what it looks like.
right.
Can I just bring up a point, Mr. Chief?
Sir?
I want to tell the applicant that if he's, it looks like in his renderings, he's including a fireplace, and he's not really going for a variance on that. But fireplaces need to be behind the main dwelling, otherwise you would need some variance relief on that. So I just want to make sure you know that if you're proposing a fireplace.
There's an existing fireplace there.
You're building the cabana, or is this the cabana?
That is correct.
And is that a new fireplace in the cabana?
That is correct. And
Right. So if
again, there's a
there's-
fireplace back there. We're trying to put a roof back there to have some shade, and there's an existing fireplace there. I don't know if any of the photos that you guys have
Can't
show
really see
that.
it.
So you're not adding one, you're just putting the
Yeah, that's a good point. I missed that it's already
I was
there.
like, I see it right over there.
Any other discussion? What would be the board's wish that we convey to BZA? Are we for this, against it? Do we have any modifications?
Trying to see where it's going.
It's good you didn't talk much. I mean,
Excuse me?
it's good you didn't talk a lot. They don't know what we think. Everybody's.
So you've already got some structures built, it sounds like, in this area that you're just trying to cover. So I say that because, my first inclination when we're talking about variances and giving comments is that we try to move a structure inside build lines before we or pass on any comments that may approve something outside of a build line. So is that what you're trying to do?
Yes, we're again, to cover the area that we're trying to cover, our lot is, you can see the shape
Sure.
of the lot going back into a corner. And it's not visible from any of the neighbors at all, but we need to get into that 50-foot buffer that's behind our lot that ties into the horse farm. And so what we have is we have existing patio in that area, but as you can see on the aerial map looking directly down, the red dotted line kind of shows the what's there now, what's concrete and patio there now. And so we got to cut that corner and get the roof over there. We're going to be again in that area. This says 31 feet. We actually resurveyed it using the plat, and we were about, I think it was a little longer. I think it's around 33 feet, but you guys actually may have a copy of that. It was on the large scale plan that we added the structure to.
The 31 feet and the 25 feet, is that what you said?
Yes.
33 and 25.
Yeah. Tim, what's your thought?
I see a rendering where it looks like it's solid in the back. Is that right? Solid.
We wanted to try to add some type of barnwood type and have a real rustic look to the whole back wall.
So 3 sides would be open, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff, are you up there? I think that's where I'm going to come down to, that if you have letters, and I'd want to pass on to BZA that we are going to support this, I think, from what I'm hearing, subject to the neighbor letters, that you have those for sure, they know you're doing it, and they're fine with it.
Yes.
And I just haven't heard any opposition from the board, so I would pass on that we favored it, with the understanding the neighbors need to ring in, and once that's done.
Now, do we also want to do similar to the last applicant, see a rendering once they come up with the full plan?
Okay.
Well, I think that's a good idea. I mean, lighting would play an issue with me if I was a neighbor, Bob, and go ahead.
Can I just bring up a point to the board? So on the survey, it says 50-foot undisturbed buffer.
Right.
To screen historic property off-site, Corps of Engineers permit. So are we requesting just a side yard, rear yard setback variance, or is this something that is beyond that this was an undisturbed buffer and he needs a core permit and things like that? I'm just making sure that we are asking for the right variance, and that the applicant doesn't need to actually get something approved prior to the city addressing it, because I know when it comes to BZA, they're going to say if it's a 50-foot undisturbed buffer, what are the requirements and somebody having to give permission.
And I would guess I'll
Prior
get
to
the
the
city
city.
attorney to verify this. How I'm reading it is
Make sure.
that 50-foot undisturbed buffer goes to where that 50-foot marker's at, since that dash is there. I'm just making sure I'm looking at that, because that's...
Oh, it's just that corner?
It's,
It's just the corner, so it doesn't, it's not
Not the
really, so
whole
we're just
buffer, it's
asking.
just-
we're 100 and something feet away from the historical.
Okay.
Okay, so we're good on that. So we're really truly just asking for a variance
Right.
to encroach into the 50-foot rear yard setback? With that, is that correct? I just want to make sure.
Before I give a definite answer, I'll do some research tomorrow. I'll look at the final plat to see what it says regarding if there's a note.
Okay.
On
If
there,
it's
but-
only in that corner, I think he's okay, right? Because he's only asking for a setback to the rear yard, to the rear yard, property line?
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure you don't get hung up on BZA.
Yeah, I didn't get the exact measurement, but we're well over 100 feet from the historical corner.
And would you give the board just an idea of the size of this? I'd like to, none of these have dimensions. I mean, what are we looking at here? Is this like a,
It's like a
12
maybe
foot?
23 by 20 foot covered, covered cabana, open air cabana.
okay, I just want to make sure the board knows the scales of these things. I mean, I don't know if you want to recommend sizes or setbacks or encroachments, but 20 by 23?
I'm good with that.
Okay, just make sure.
I'm good with it.
Okay, so that's important to know.
All right, I think those are our recommendations. Good
Mr.
luck.
Roberts,
And
just, I don't believe we've asked for any public comment on this item as yet.
my bad. Is there any opposition for or against? Anybody want to speak about this, whether you're for it or against it?
Thank you.
Hearing none, we've made our recommendations, and we'll send them on to BZA, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Next item is 7A, the Birmingham Shops driveway, LDP 980 Birmingham Road. Have an applicant?
Hey, good morning, Board. Thank you. My name is Ron Crump with Continuo Group Civil Engineering for the project out of 755 Commerce Drive, Decatur, Georgia. We have the rest of the team present, the contractor, as well as the ownership. The plans have been reviewed and approved through the staff level at this point. They've gone through numerous process, and the pond maintenance has been completed. That was one of the things that was recommended during the entire project. The green space has since been recorded into the easement, and a copy of all that has been dropped off.
May I ask,
Sorry.
Bob, Cody, everything on these plans have met all the previous requirements, and
Yes, sir.
staff's good with everything on these plans?
Yes,
Correct.
sir.
This land disturbance permit's roughly about 95% complete. There's just, I think, minimalistic stuff that staff just has to work on, but this is at its final stage of approval from staff.
Okay. So I don't forget again, anyone in opposition or for this applicant and application would like to come forward and speak at this time? Hearing none, let's ask the board if they've got any discussion. We've read your plans and looked at everything. Very, very good set of drawings and very complete. Board have any comments?
Not yet.
Jeff, what? I'm going to ring in with Jeff. I think it's great, and I think it's needed. Anything we can do to help our retail taxpayers and office taxpayers, I think it makes all the sense in the world to tie the roads together right there with parking lots. And I think it made a lot of sense.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah.
All right, I think the board has discussions done.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to, how do we want to handle this?
I move to approve the land disturbance permit at 980 Birmingham Road.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck. Next item of business is 7B, the Market District at Crabapple, Building 2, 12655 Birmingham Highway. The request is for final approval and review for a revision on the door going in from the roll-up door to the barn doors.
Yes, sir. Brent Beecham, and I represent Market District Crabapple, the ownership of the project. The building is one of the two buildings that's under construction currently, and we have a lessee that, due to COVID-19, they own a club, and they want to be able to serve to the outside porch, just to give some ability for people to walk up instead of having to go inside. So they asked us to put, in lieu of 2 windows, to put a 8-foot, I think it's an 8-foot wide opening with a 42-inch bar, and then they were going to put a roll-up garage door type, all glass, but a roll-up, and then working with the city. They said that basically the best look for us for that particular thing would be to take a barn door and be more consistent with the look and feel of that building, and use that as a, at night or anytime it's not in use, that we would take the barn door and close over that opening.
Okay, and that's the one that's right here?
Yes.
Okay. And it's just the one?
Just the one.
Okay.
So that is there a balcony there?
Yeah,
it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's about a 25 by 25 porch.
Oh, okay,
and then,
gotcha.
And they, it's open to the public from the outside, so somebody can come upstairs from the outside and receive service from the outside bar.
And it'll just slide to the right just fine. Slide to the.
Yeah.
Just looks like it's almost hitting the end of the building.
It's two doors because they have. It
goes in one direction.
Yeah. They have to roll. They have to slide one on top of the other.
I've seen a lot lately. That may have been what they were trying to do with the roll-up doors, but these barn doors with actual glass on the top of them, so it always lets in light.
Yeah.
So just a thought, but I'm fine with this.
I like it.
I like it.
Tim, your comments, you like it?
Oh, it's up. Okay, good. There you go. There's the presentation. Oh, yeah. Much different.
I like that.
It's kind of like a warehouse that, they got that door.
Bob, you've seen all this and you like it?
I have. I've worked with the applicant. And we did a good job putting it together. We really worked hard to keep the look and feel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're excited to see this particular user come too, because it's a jazz club.
Cool.
That's going to have live music, and it's a guy that came out of Buckhead who owns some of the best clubs in Atlanta. And he said he's had enough of Atlanta and wants to come up here and join the rest of us.
Okay. Come to the light,
Don't tell
Carolyn.
All right, at this time, seeing no one in the audience, we'll still ask, is there anybody for or against online maybe that would like to speak for or against this application?
We don't have anybody online.
Hearing none, have we finished discussion, board? Any more comments? Then can I have a motion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jeff, would you make a motion?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let us know
Thank
when
you.
just let us know when it opens, because my husband's going to be so glad to go to
There'll be
there.
lots of fanfare.
Okay. Yes.
All right, next order of business is number 8, and that is new business. Any new business? Mr. Roberts?
Change the agenda and added the item to the.
Right.
Yeah. So it is on the agenda earlier. Earlier we,
On that earlier?
Yeah,
We did.
The board did approve adding the agenda item to discuss the officers for the remainder of the year. And if, with your permission, I'll provide some thoughts on what I have heard. I understand there's been some thoughts out there about the current situation with the COVID-19 has created some issues with respect to the ability of members to attend and the running of the meeting and attendance in general. As you know, it results in a situation where it may occur that the chairman and the vice chairman are not available in person at the meeting, as was the case tonight. And I understand there was consideration of whether or not the board might want to consider naming new members to those positions. And pursuant to the rules, you have the power to appoint officers, and it's our interpretation that a majority of the members of the board could, upon consideration, vote to elect new officers for those positions going forward. I would. That's the item for discussion. Just if you want to discuss that, if you would like to add that as an agenda item to the next meeting or to future meetings, you may do so.
And can we discuss that tonight?
You may discuss the options tonight, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody want to start?
Well, I think, Sherwood nice to be respectful for the chairwoman now, chairperson now. And I kind of like to, you kind of like to get an opportunity to talk to them about this stuff, or at least have some kind of conversation. Sure. But I do agree that maybe if they can't attend, then, we got to have somebody that can chair the meetings. So
I'm in agreement with you that I think a conversation needs to be had and get, like you said, find out the input or where they see themselves on the board, and just kind of understanding the circumstance that we're all in, but especially for those members. But I agree, a conversation needs to be had.
Seems like the right thing to do before we just sit here and vote on something.
I agree.
So
What exactly are you talking about? A full replacement, or is this just a temporary thing?
No, this would be a election of a chairman or vice chairman or both for a permanent position according to the bylaws.
Well, I have one question. So, each city council person, submitted somebody or recommended somebody to be on the board. So the people that recommended Laura and Jeff, can they submit new people in their place?
I will say this is not in any way, shape, or form to take them off of the board.
Okay.
This is solely in a capacity of an officer of this board.
Yeah,
they would still be members. They could still participate, and Jeff could still participate virtually. It's the ability to effectively to have someone to run the meeting.
Gotcha.
And that being said, we could go through a process of having a chairman pro tem appointed at each subsequent meeting. It would just have to be done at each meeting at the opening, just as I have done. Again, it's not a terribly complicated process. Okay. It's, the will of the board as to whether that's the process they want to go forward with.
All right, so maybe in summary, you made a good point. This isn't to take Laura and Jeff off the board.
Absolutely not.
It's just twice we didn't have a vice chairman or a chairman, and once we didn't have a quorum. So, and Jeff, just in open discussion here, I think you've made it clear, till there's a vaccine or you call it the green light, you're not going to be in attendance. Is that correct? Well, first, I have an opinion on that I've discussed with numerous people in the city, and I respect everybody's opinion to do whatever they want to do. First, I really respect everyone's opinion. But we all set up to volunteer, and I think if the city council's in attendance, which they are, we need to be in attendance also. We're not talking, Jeff, you and Laura getting off the board. You just may miss some more meetings for a while or be virtually, which has been great tonight, but it's still not the same as being here with the people who we are appointed to represent. And so I think we need to be in attendance. And if the council can be in attendance, we need to be in attendance. That's my position. And we need to know that we're going to have a chairman that's going to show up every month and has accepted the risk factor and is coming to the meetings. If I come out of fair is fair, and if one person can miss all the time and still be on the board, and one person can come by Zoom, why wouldn't we all just come by Zoom? And I think the city manager wrote us and said that's unacceptable, and we're not going to do that. Steve wrote us and said that isn't going to work. I really want to serve and be here. I'm going to take the risk, and I'm going to show up. And if I decided not to, then I wouldn't expect to be vice chairman or chairman if I didn't want to come. I think, again and again, if the council can show up and go to the meetings, we should do the same. But we all have our place to decide what's important to us. And Jeff, I certainly respect your position. But I think doing this every month and wondering, are we going to have a chairman or a vice chair? That's why you have a chairman and a vice chair, so you always know you're going to have a quorum and you're going to have somebody to preside over the meeting. And I think
I can answer that. Yes, you can have a quorum.
Yeah.
And it would be this, if you were not able to participate this evening virtually, we would have a quorum, and we would go through the same process of appointing a chairman pro tem at the start of the meeting as we did tonight.
Does that mean that the city's attorney's office, you have to be here? You wouldn't have to be here if we had a chairman here? Is that what you mean?
It would be a designee of the community development director. I'm here as an option.
Okay.
I mean,
so in talking to the city, we have the authority amongst us to do whatever we want. I would say we brought this up tonight. That was the first motion to discuss it. It's great that Jeff's here and he's heard all this. Somebody needs to reach out to Laura, one or all of us, or Cody. And I would like to put on the agenda for next month to entertain elections for a new vice chairman and a chairman that is going to be committed to coming every month. This COVID-19 is not going away the next 3 to 6 months. And I would propose to elect officers till our next annual election, Cody, which is February or something, right? January. So to fill in and serve every month so we don't have to do this worry and have an attorney come help us find an interim, and we don't want to do that every month anyway. And that's my proposal, is next month we vote as a board, which we're authorized to do, and elect new officers. And also the board may say, no, we like the way it is, and the vice chairman and chairman stay who they are. And we're going to do this every month if they don't come. And that's going to be the board's majority vote to decide what they want to do. And that I just would like to see that on the agenda for next month, the appropriate discussion done all month long, and then put it to a vote and let the majority elect new officers or retain the officers we have, with the understanding, it's my understanding that Jeff, you're going to come Zoom every month, and Laura was out of town and not sure what she's going to do. She's not here to speak. And if she said during this month, before the meeting next month, I'm going to come every month from now on till January, then that would solve the problem. We'd have a chairman every month between now and January,
Right.
which is all we need. I'm not asking anything, Jeff, because I'm not knowledgeable enough or have no authority. I'm just going on Steve's, the city manager's email to all of us that they expected us to be here, and he wrote an email that all of you saw, right? If you didn't, we need to get it for you. And that the council was showing up, we needed to show up, and that the officers needed to show up here, and that Zoom was not acceptable. Now, Jeff, you got that email, and so I'm just trying to have a chairman. Personally, I think Laura's a great chairman and does a good job allowing me to have a position and be able to talk more. So I can't talk as much sitting here tonight because I want you all to talk as chairman. So I'm fine with Laura being chairman. As a board member, as a resident, and as a taxpayer, I want to see my chairman and vice chairman show up in person, or I'm going to start zooming in too. And why wouldn't all of you zoom in and none of us come down here and take any risk? And these people stand up here before us with their money, their risk, their livelihood, and they stare at an empty desk, and there's nobody here to talk to them. I think I'm for the rules are made for all of us, and the rules should apply to everybody. And our desire to serve and our willingness to show up to this meeting is my issue. If I'm going to show up, I want everybody else to show up, unless you're ill, sick, or can't. But not to show up for 3 or 4 months, and I don't think it's the same as an applicant. Many times over 50 years, standing before a board, I want to be able to talk to the board, not look at a camera up there where there's a little bit of hard to hear and hard to talk, and I want to show my pictures. And I want to appeal because my money, my life, my income, and my business depends on these votes from our board. This man just left wanting his barn door approved. He wants to talk to us. He doesn't want to see us on cameras. And if you ask them all, that's what they say. I'm a developer. I want to stand before the city architect. I want to go meet with staff. I want to meet with the DRB and present my case. And I think we should either show up or stay on the board, but come by Zoom. But we need officers that can run this meeting, whether it's whoever it is, doesn't matter. But I think we need to elect a chairman and a vice chairman that will show up and set an example, quite frankly.
Well, I think it's important.
And hey, Jeff, let me say, I haven't seen you here 3 months. It was great to have you here. You have great ideas. You're a great board member. You brought out several great things tonight, and you really contributed. So I think you're a great board member. And I'm the one that nominated you to be vice chairman, if you'll remember. And I quickly did that because I thought you'd be great at it. And you are. And I wish you were back here and I was over 2 chairs, and I'd be happy. So all I'm saying is we need officers in attendance, and whoever the board chooses to elect, that's what I'd like to see done next month. Want to see you here in my right-hand corner of my screen. I want to see you up close, actually, see your new beard. If you don't shave it, we'll know if COVID ran a year or 2 years or 3 years, based on the length of your beard. So your comments were great. I just want to have officers. I'd like to vote on it next month. If the board says we're great with the chairman zooming in, and the council's good with that, then hey, it is what it is. Let's just vote next month.
Okay.
Here's what I would foresee. The board tonight would make a motion to request staff to add an agenda item as, let's call it, still be new business because it would be the actual, but the agenda item would be, and we'll work out the exact wording, but I would call it consideration of the election, of the possible election of new officers for the remainder of 2020. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, I mean, it may or may not happen, but it is on the agenda. It could be for one, both, or neither, one or the other, both or neither. And in the interim, you may speak with individuals. I would suggest do not have a group discussion about it. That any group discussion should be saved for a regular meeting. You can have discussions again at the next meeting before any vote. Or you could go straight to a vote if that was the will of the board, but we'll add it to a specific agenda item and it will appear for action.
Yeah, I certainly think that the discussion needs to happen. I would not make any sort of motion for a vote next time. I mean, I don't want Laura to feel like she's being forced out anyway. I mean, I have a lot of respect for her. She's done a fantastic job. She's been around this board longer than any of us, maybe not you, Tim, but definitely. So we need to have a consideration, a discussion. Mm-hmm. That's all I would be in favor for.
Yeah, no, that's the whole purpose of bringing it up tonight and start this discussion. So we've started it tonight. Mm-hmm. All but 2 people have heard all of this, Lee and Laura, and so we've discussed it, and that was the purpose. And then it goes on next month for more discussion and possible action or no action. So I totally support you and Laura being clear about it, reaching out. Cody, I would assume you're going to reach out to her and tell her what's going on. And I totally agree with everything you said. And by no means is this, but it just needed to get discussed. It's been discussed outside of all of us sitting here off and on for a month. There's been emails about it. Mm-hmm. And so there is an issue here, and the board's will be voted next month on what the board chooses to do after discussion. Each of you reach out to Laura all month. Jeff's going to do it. Cody's going to do it. Reed, you do it. And we all reach out to Laura. She's well discussed it by next meeting. It's going to be on the agenda. That was the purpose tonight, to discuss it. And we haven't even voted yet whether you want to put it on next month's meeting to have it.
I'll make a motion to put the discussion for, I don't even know what you call this, really.
If I may, I would ask that the motion be to have staff add an agenda item to consider the possible election of officers for the remainder of 2020.
So I'll make a motion for our staff to add an agenda item for a possible change in the committee members.
The officers,
excuse me, for 2020. Yeah.
Well, since we have all of us here and we're doing this, let's sum that up, because it's very clear to me what we're doing and where we're headed next month. And Jeff, what are you not clear about?
One or the other. I would say one or the other.
Yeah, no, so let me sum that up. So we're not saying we're going to do it. We're going to discuss it at next month, but it will have to be a vote called by this board to do that election. We're putting it on the agenda that we're going to discuss it, and the discussion is to elect a new vice chair or a new chairman or both, and it will be discussed and it will have to be voted on. And your vote could be to do nothing. This board may vote to do nothing next month and say we're real happy with what we got.
Well, I think what Jeff's question is okay, if this is the standard and more or less this is your job requirement, that if you decide to be vice chair, that don't rely on thinking that you can come in a Zoom meeting. You're going to have to be there, whether you are physically there or not, but being virtually isn't an option. And I guess that's one reason why when we were talking earlier, me stepping into that role, I possibly couldn't, because there's going to be a time. I mean, as much as I pray that it doesn't, where I have a 4-year-old that's going to happens to be sick or have something at school, and I may not be able to attend, but I may be able to do Zoom, but I'm not going to have that option. The virtual option will no longer be on the table for me to serve in my seat. So knowing that that's what the platform is, and that's what's going forward, the procedure is, I can't, in good faith, put myself in that kind of position, because you just never know, with being a mom.
We've done some homework on this too, and all boards everywhere expect people to miss 1 or 2 and 3. We don't have this, but it's been discussed that maybe we need it. If you miss more than 3 meetings, you're off. With the idea, the meetings are set up a year in advance. We all know when the meeting's going to be. Right. We've all taken an oath of office to serve, as the council has. And in serving, it is showing up. Now, granted, we've got COVID-19 here. So it's not like the 4-year-old or we all can get sick for a week, a month, miss one. We know it a year in advance. Most boards have, if you miss more than 3, you're off. We don't have that, but that might be a reasonable standard. If you miss more than 3, clearly you're too busy at home, or your business is too busy.
Mr. Roberts,
do what?
I'm going to step in. I just have the bylaws in front of me, and there actually is a provision which Article 4, Section 1 says any board member who fails to attend any 3 consecutive board meetings and any 4 meetings in any 12-month period without written excuse filed with the chair, says shall be replaced. Now, that would be a council decision, but I just want to caution the statement that there is no requirement. Right. I mean, that there is a provision which suggests, I mean, again, it mentions without an excuse, and, there is a number out there.
So I'm wrong. There is something in the bylaws
there is
that anticipates the idea of not missing meetings.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's consecutive.
3
consecutive and 4 in any 12-month period.
Gotcha.
So my point that I want us all, and I've had a lot of conversation with numerous people about this, is the idea is the board, you're supposed to show up and serve the public. We're here to serve the residents of Milton. And I think you do that best face-to-face in attendance. That's why this has been built. That's why it's here. That's why the council's showing up. And I think the council, if they were Zooming, they would be telling us to Zoom too. They're not. They made a decision they're going to meet, and Steve's email defines that. So we've had a great discussion. It's an issue. We clearly have an issue, which means intelligent business people will discuss it. And there's an issue where we haven't had a vice chair or a chairman in attendance. I think, as you say, whoever chooses to run needs to be committed to coming to all the meetings. That's the idea of why we're sitting up here in front of these people.
Right.
Correct. I talked to one council member and asked their opinion. They said, well, I was on planning commission 4 years and I never missed but one meeting in 4 years. I was on the Landmarks Commission in Palm Beach, Florida for 5 years. I missed 2 meetings in 5 years. I think that's important to show up and support our staff, our architect, the builders, and have these interactive conversations. It does work by Zoom, but it isn't the same. And at the end of the discussion, and Bob and I have discussed this, Cody, the city attorney's here because we didn't have officers tonight. And so next month, did we vote on our motion or did we get a second on the motion?
We need a second.
So there's a motion on the floor that I think, and you correct me, is that we will have this discussion about whether we should or should not elect a new vice chair and chairman.
The motion was to add it to the agenda.
To add it to the agenda.
Motion is to add a possible consideration of a possible election to the agenda. That would be accompanied by discussion, most likely.
And that's all we're doing here, giving us a month to discuss it.
Okay.
Before the meeting.
I'll say one more thing. I know we're not necessarily a team and we don't leave here and go work together out there, but we are kind of a team in here. And there is something about the vibe and energy that we feed to each other. Mm-hmm. And so whether they're here or they're not here, they're still a team until they're not.
Yeah,
right?
Jeff proved that tonight. I mean, Jeff was great.
Yeah,
I keep looking up there like he's up in the sky. Yeah. But Jeff, your comments were great. Having you back in the game was great. And but we still need, under the law or the rules, the attorney will correct me, we need a vice chair or a chairman sitting here. Correct?
Yes, in order to run the meeting.
Mm-hmm. So we got to have that. Mm-hmm. And Jeff, in all respect to you, because we are a team, I like what Reed said, this isn't behind anybody's back. This is a discussion we need to have. I would much rather have you Zoom than not have you here, ringing in with your good ideas. You're my favorite teammate, and so I'm glad you're back. And I started saying, Jeff, what do you think? Because I would forget you're up there, wherever that is, because I can't see the TV. And so I'd say, Jeff, what do you think? So next month, if we can we finish that motion? Do we have a second or not?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jeff? Okay, so we're going to put it on the agenda, and all month let's discuss it, and let's do, quoting Reed, let's do what's best for the team and best for the city and best for our developers and our staff. And how we best get through the next 5 months is what we should do. So, and Jeff, I'd say this, if I will serve, I will be here every meeting, and I will do this. But come next January, if the virus is gone, I'm happy for Laura and you to be, I'd vote for you in a minute to be vice chair and chairman again. I respect that you've chosen what you've chosen, but I also respect the team, the city, and this board, and I think we need to have a vice chairman and a chairman that's here. Mm-hmm. That.
Yes.
And again, Jeff, we're not voting for you and Laura to get off the board. It's to have officers sitting here. That's the only issue on the table. And I'm going to count on you to show up by Zoom and have these good ideas. And I really agree with Reed. It's a team that I've only been on a year. And as I've gotten to know all of you, I know your strengths. I listen to you. If it's architecture, I want to hear from Tim. And I just want him to ring in. He's a great architect. And so it is a good team. And it's a well-balanced team. Reed, you know everything about every piece of real estate in the city, seriously. And you add a side of it of discussion that, well, you know this corner, you know that, you know this. And you know construction, you know the city. And so it is a good team. It's a real good team. So there you go. I'm sorry I talked so much.
And we need to hear from Laura. That's really important.
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah.
If she can be here next meeting, that would be good.
Right. Now, it is not, we can't meet as one big group, but we can meet one-on-one, correct? Or have discussions one-on-one, or let's not even go there.
That would not violate the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, gotcha.
Just
And
be
since
cautious on how, substantive any discussions. You're going to talk to her about her personal opinions? Great.
Gotcha.
And since I've had so much to say, if Laura says this month, I'm not going to miss any more meetings, hey, I'm happy to leave it just like it is. If Laura's not going to miss meetings, then we know she's going to be here to run the meeting, and Jeff can be here by Zoom and stay vice chairman, and we can leave it like it is. But she has not been able to tell me she's committed to coming.
Right.
So, but if she says during this month to any of you, I'm going to be there from now on, then hey, then we don't need to vote or do anything next month.
That's very true.
And I'd rather her be chairman. I think I'm going to, is there any old business we need to discuss?
There's nothing on the agenda for old business.
All right, then if it's everybody's approval, then we'll adjourn our meeting.
Adjourn.
Adjourn.